To Johnson, crafting the through pass. Looks the real chance. They have taken the lead here in the dying moments.
Well, this place is absolutely jumping. What a finish and at what a stage in this match.
Video game release season is in full swing, and as with every year, we have two new football/soccer games out. FIFA and PES, of course, two juggernauts. And I am Timur Hussain. I am joined by, well, my voice there. I am joined by long-suffering Bristol City fan and resident football expert, soccer expert, Oscar Deus.
Suffering is the right word. Yes. Hello, Tam. How are you?
So you've played and reviewed both PES and FIFA for our website. You can read about those on GameSpot.com. Can't remember what scores you gave them, but I watched you play and it seemed like you were mostly enjoying both of them, but with different elements with each one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think overall, I prefer PES this year, but they both have their own strengths. I think to simplify it, it comes down to style versus substance. I think FIFA absolutely has the edge on the style side. It looks really, really good. But I prefer the way PES feels actually on the pitch.
Right. So I'm, full disclosure, I'm a very casual FIFA and PES player. I don't play them religiously. I play them enough to be able to, have a conversation about them if I need to, which, given my friend circle, I often need to. So we're going to break down the various elements of each game and kind of pit them against each other and try and figure out what works for you as a football game player. So as you said just now, presentation is a big deal in football games, and in this respect, one is clearly edging the other one out.
Absolutely, yeah. FIFA, there's no question, looks a lot better than PES. The most obvious side of that is the licenses. PES doesn't have the official licenses for most of the world's leagues and top teams. Has a few here and there, but by and large, it doesn't have many Premier League teams licensed. It doesn't have many La Liga teams licensed. And at times that can kind of make it's not authentic, right? It feels like that. Whereas FIFA obviously does have that. And even stuff like FIFA has like the official graphic overlays for the Premier League and La Liga. The commentary is better in FIFA. The menus are nicer in FIFA. There's everything about it feels a lot more polished, whereas PES feels quite raw. And PES also, that stuff isn't changing really year on year. It's starting to feel a little bit stale now, certainly off the pitch, and in terms of that sort of polished package, FIFA definitely edges it.
Right, and for someone like me who is a kind of casual player, the presentation element of it, the more it looks like a broadcast football match, the more inclined I am towards it. PES, this year, it doesn't, not being able to pick up a controller and figure out which one is Manchester United, Liverpool, etc. for people like me is kind of like a deal breaker in a lot of ways, which is why we're kind of making a big deal about the fact that PES has significantly less interesting presentation than FIFA.
Absolutely.
But obviously, gameplay is where it matters, and how do those two stack up to each other in that respect?
I mean, FIFA, in terms of gameplay, it is definitely improved over last year. I thought FIFA 17 was probably, on the pitch, I thought it was the worst FIFA in a long, long time. I think FIFA 18 does bring it back up again. It's a small improvement, but it is definitely an improvement. It does feel a little bit tighter. The responsiveness is a little bit better. The dribbling is a little bit better. The shooting is quite a lot better, actually. Shooting feels a lot better than it did previously. And crossing as well, and those actually feel satisfying to use now. You don't feel like, at times last year it felt like you were fighting against the controls. It felt like you were really sort of having to wrestle with the controller to do what you wanted to do on the pitch. Whereas now it feels a little bit more natural.
Yeah, so FIFA seems to be kind of regaining ground instead of breaking new one, whereas PES, from what you wrote about and what you've been telling me about and what I've seen and played, it's kind of like a step forward for the franchise.
Definitely, yeah. Again, I think it's a minor step. I don't think it's a huge leap forward that we saw with PES 16, for example. But yeah, it's again a small improvement. It's weird how both of these games are slowing down, and PES in particular feels a lot slower than last year. It feels responsive, like that. I think that's a large part of why it feels so much better, is because your inputs are immediately shown on the pitch, whereas FIFA, it feels like there's like just a split second of input delay, and that kind of feels, again, like it makes it feel like you're wrestling against the controller, whereas PES is definitely a lot more responsive.
Yeah, from what I've seen, it does seem like PES has a little more energy behind everything, whereas FIFA feels like it's a bit stop and start when you're moving the ball around, or even trying to make a break or something like that.
Sure.
That's just from me watching and not playing that much. But it seems like what you're saying is either way you'll get a good football game in terms of gameplay, but the one that's really going to be rewarding as you put in more time, which is what people do with these games. They play for a year until the next one comes out. Out of those two, PES is probably the more gratifying of the two.
Yeah, definitely. Weirdly, that sort of swapped around when you come to look at the modes that are on offer in each game. PES's big new mode this year is random selection mode, which is a really good party game. Like, it's not a mode that you can sit there and play by yourself for hours and hours and hours. It's a mode that you play a couple of times with a mate or with a group of mates. So basically, it's really hard to describe, but basically, you get handed a random selection, hence the term random selection mode, a random selection of 11 players, and you can essentially secretly pick which of your opponent's players you want to steal off of them, and they can do the same for you. And you can also pick a player that you want to keep, you want to protect, and they do the same. But you don't know who each of you has picked. And so it creates this really amazing mind game of, I want to get his best player, but they might have chosen to protect their best player. So do I want to go for their second best player? Oh, but then they might second guess me. So it creates this amazing mind game where you might end up nicking their best player, and it feels so good when you do that, and it's really hilarious. The big one, certainly for FIFA, is Ultimate Team. Like, that has become so big now. It's almost a game in and of itself. Like, there's so many different ways to play Ultimate Team. The big new addition to Ultimate Team this year is Squad Battles. Squad Battles is actually a single player where you play a certain number of games over the course of the week, and you're ranked. So they're all offline games, but you're ranked against other real world players and how many games you win. And these offer the best offline rewards that you can get in Ultimate Team. So it just continues to expand, and Ultimate Team really is sort of where the longevity, I think, lies for FIFA. And PES's alternative to that is My Club, and it's an interesting alternative, and it's a different take on it. Like, the way you sign players is different. You have sort of scout cards that you combine rather than searching for the transfer through the transfer market. But PES is actually making ground in the modes. It's added a 3v3 online co-op mode this year, which is an attempt, I think, to try and rival FIFA's Pro Clubs. It's not at that level yet. Pro Clubs is a lot deeper and allows you to play 11v11 rather than 3v3. But it's definitely a step forward, and I think PES is definitely making a lot of ground up here. Currently, FIFA probably still has the edge in terms of the modes that are on offer, mainly because of Ultimate Team.
Right, in the modes. So overall, how would you kind of, if you had to tell people who are kind of picking between the two modes, how to approach it, what would you do? What would you say?
I think it depends mostly on how you're going to be playing these games. If you're going to be, like, I tend to just play football games by myself. I like to come home, switch my brain off, relax, just have a couple of games of FIFA or PES by myself, maybe in career mode or manager mode. And I think if you're going to do that, I think PES is the way to go, because I think you will get more enjoyment out of the deep gameplay offering that it has. However, I think if you're going to be playing against your friends are more likely to be buying FIFA, and I think FIFA probably has the edge, like I say, in terms of Ultimate Team and Pro Clubs. It has more ways to sort of interact. So I think if you're going to be more of a, again, air quotes, casual player, I think FIFA probably has the edge. But if you're going to be one who's going to sit there and play it for hours on end all year long by yourself, I think PES offers definitely a more rewarding experience.
Right. So there you have it. That's Oscar's verdict on FIFA versus PES. As we said at the start of the video, you've reviewed both of these games. You can read those reviews on GameSpot.com. There's also quite a few gameplay videos on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/GameSpot. Give those videos a like. We've also put the Switch version through its paces. There's a gameplay video of that up on the YouTube page, and I believe you'll be doing a review of that as well.
That's right.
So keep your eyes out for that on GameSpot.com, and you can find us on Twitter in the meantime. I'm at TamorH, and Oscar is
at DSZ.
Come and tell him about why he's wrong about FIFA/PES, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye.
Bye.